Welcome to Work in Progress, Conversations with Creators. I'm your host, Logan Roy Spiteman. On today's program, I have with me today Emily Trujillo, an 8th generation Chimayo weaver from New Mexico, who's taking the tradition in a whole new direction. We had a great conversation. I hope that you enjoy.
If you enjoy our podcast, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all of our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. See the show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading news.
Hey, Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's great having you here. So you are an 8th generation Chimayo weaver. Tell people what that means.
So essentially, my family settled in northern New Mexico in the mid and early 1700s, actually, the two sides of my family. And we've been there ever since. For instance, I grew up on this place called Centinela Ranch, and we have actually lived there for 5 generations in the exact same spot. And yeah, so we've been here for quite a while, and we've been weaving that entire time. So throughout history, we've been doing it as a way of life and a living, and that still remains true today, and it hasn't skipped a single generation. So we've been teaching each other this whole time.
Yeah. And so, you know, your family came from Spain, and the tradition, though, I've heard that people say it seems like maybe to have some Navajo, Dene influences. Yeah, so interestingly enough, the most influence we have is from Mexico, but Dene weaving or Navajo weaving is much more popular and much more well-known, so I actually get asked what tribe I'm from or get accused of culturally appropriating, but really the weaving tradition comes from, as I said, there's a lot more Mexican influence, like in 1807, this was still a part of the Mexico at that point. But in 1807, we learned tapestry from the Bazan brothers. And so this is a Rio Grande Saltillo, and that's more of a variation of what my people did after the Saltillo Serape was brought to them. So the Chimayo weaving is the one that people consider having the most in common with Dene weavings. That's actually the prototypical Chimayo from 1880 to 1920. And now it doesn't really have much to do with that. In fact, the people who started weaving, allegedly anyway, the really early, my grandpa is the one that said this. So note that a lot of our history is passed down orally because we are not very well documented. So my grandpa was very proud to say that there were more Mexican artists that really helped create the standardized Chimayo. So while we get compared to the Dene a lot, they actually are influenced by us just as we are influenced by them and just as we are influenced by Mexican weavers. So that's kind of a really interesting, not misconception, so to say, but it's a lot more complicated. Yeah. It's such a fascinating history, and it's so deep. And, you know, something I find really compelling about your work is that you're so embedded within this tradition, but at the same time, you know, pushing things in a really contemporary way. Your parents are also weavers, and they innovated within the form, and I think you've even gone further. But maybe talk about that, kind of the play between tradition and innovation. Yeah,
so it actually kind of started with my grandpa, I would say. His modern work, I recently did an exhibit at the Nuevo Mexicano Heritage Arts Museum that displayed all of our work next to each other. So we would take it was a Rio Grande, a Saltillo, so Rio Grande Saltillo, and then a Vallero, and then a Chimayo, and we each put one next to each other, and you can kind of see, or you could see, how it diverged from the tradition. So my grandpa did the most traditional ones, and then my parents they did more contemporary, and then mine, as I said, you can kind of see, I could see much more of a blend between traditional and contemporary with, especially my mom's works, actually.
Yeah.
But then my works are, at least recently especially, but that's because I've been influenced by K-pop, so I've always listened to music. Yeah, which is now all over the place. Like, it's no secret anymore, but I really like kind of the energy and the colors that I see in the music video and the music itself and the texture, and that reflects it. I'm actually giving a talk to the Damascus School. So in that PowerPoint, I finally got to, for the first time, put my weavings that are based off of music next to the pictures that reflect it from the music videos. And I was very excited to do that. But you can kind of see what I took from this music into my weavings for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you look for. Like, my dad actually saw this piece and said, I have never seen colors like that. And that's because the colors are from 3 different K-pop music videos.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I feel like even like the kind of line work and so, you know, that it feels like a real energy. It feels almost like sound waves or something.
Yeah. My piece Taste the Tempest actually captured sound waves, so I was deliberately trying to weave them. And I'm an incredibly energetic person. I'm actually trying to remain calm so I look professional, but I'm actually really, really energetic, especially for someone my age. You can ask my students, my mom, my friends. I'm very effervescent, and that really reflects in my weavings. And a huge part of it has to do with this is how I think. And actually, just to leap into the symbolism, this stuff back here, those blue lines, the web, are actually supposed to be my thoughts regarding kind of my divorce. And you can kind of see that's how my thought process is in general. And the different colors represent different emotions. So I can get into the color of the border more and what that symbolizes. But the blue is just the complex thoughts of just another sad song. This is how I feel, and it's just all over the place. And I included boxes because it's sometimes you're thinking in the box, but it's all over the place.
These kind of like
yes
forms. Yeah. So this is a piece it's in progress. So this is work in progress. So perfect. You brought one in.
Yeah.
And you said it's about your divorce. So when did you get divorced?
So I got divorced early last year. We actually broke up on January 4th. I don't really, just so you know, he's a chill guy.
Yeah.
So he actually probably would appreciate this and think it's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got divorced, and I didn't actually get to weave this because of how busy my job is. I didn't manage to clear my loom and clear some time to weave this until over a year later. I started weaving this in February of this year, and this is actually only half of it. So because my loom is small, I have to weave 2 pieces and sew them together. So this is only half of it. And there's 3 songs that reflect the emotions that I felt while I was weaving it. And now I have clarity, so I can like really think about it and capture it and maintain it. But there's the soft colors in the border. It's about falling in love again. So that's about recovery and process and the ability to move on.
Yeah.
And that kind of surrounds everything else at this point because I'm able to move on, which is why it's the border and why it's there. The green, and that's the softness of the music video. The green actually only shows up once in the music video, and it's this one guy is dancing with this green shirt. And that is in a song called Sad Song by P1 Harmony. And essentially that song is like just another breakup. This is just another sad song. And it's really talking about the frustration of, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I felt that. And then the white is actually a song called New Zealand by Lay One. And that song, it doesn't have to do with the lyrics and it doesn't have to do with the music video. But when I was getting divorced or in the process of that breakup, that song came out and I would listen to it on repeat because it really helped me process my feelings, like the emptiness. And so I this over here is supposed to be, they're supposed to look like razor blades cutting into the emptiness, which is what the white is. So
At
that's
the top.
Yes, and this is the center. That you can't see the center pattern, but it's just a square, and that's supposed to symbolize me. And the emptiness just floods out. But at the same time, even though there's emptiness, there's a lot of pain, and so I captured that by blending all of the colors and making it so it just blends in, kind of looks like a mess, and it's just cutting into the emptiness.
Was it healing for you to
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've already kind of processed it, but it just feels like closure in a way that fits me, because one of my identities, it's not my only identity, but one of my identities is that I am a Chimayo weaver and the Rio Grande weaver. And so capturing how that fits into my life is what I do with significant life events. Sometimes, like when my grandpa passed, I wove a piece. And so now that my divorce happened, I got to weave this, and it's like a way that I get to move on.
Yeah. Is that something that like the family has done, like other weavers in the tradition, like that they're weaving based on life events, or that's something that
Yes.
you brought? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. All my family does that. My dad wove a piece for his grandpa, or for my grandpa, not his grandpa. So when my grandpa died, he wove a piece, and it was actually something he had in a dream. And in the center is a silhouette with a shadow. So basically, this silhouette is walking into the white, the white, yeah. And then there's a shadow that kind of branches out, heading towards the person looking at it. And that was something he had in a dream. So that's an example of something my dad wove. And then my mom wove one called November Storm. And it was kind of her feelings with actually the election and how chaotic it was, and the division and the pain and the fear. And so she wove that one time. And those are just two examples of kind of how my parents have captured it. And then I did this one. And I did one actually that was kind of a breakup piece. It was called Broken Melodies, or Broken Melodies of a Fairy Tale, but I tried to choose stained glass. And it's complicated, but I had kind of started weaving that when my relationship was falling apart, and then I finished it after we broke up. And so it was just kind of captured in that moment, the pain that I was feeling there, but it's enclosed in that piece.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that we capture what we're feeling.
It's so incredible, and I feel like people who don't know all that, they just think, oh, it's just kind of abstract patterns, but the patterns have so much meaning, so much deep history, and then personal history, autobiography, and then other things you're drawing from, including K-pop.
Yeah, it's actually just a very interesting thing is that one of the most common questions I get is, well, what does it mean? Like, what do the symbols mean? What does the chevron mean? Which, by the way, outside of Chimayo, it's called a serrated diamond, but we simplified it. So Chimayosos have weird words, but we don't really have symbolism. It's not like you can point to a chevron or a Vallero star and be like, oh, this means the sun, like you can in a lot of Navajo Dene weavings. But for me, the way I describe it to these people is that our designs have to do with us and our people and our way of survival. So it has to do with the feelings of that person, and the designs happened because of the need to continue and to survive. And that's more of what I get at. And so you can see that reflected in our weavings. And we like to explain our weavings because each weaving has its own feeling and its own essence to it and its own meaning. I think that was redundant. Sorry about that. But
no, yeah, I mean, and the work is like very personal,
Yes. I mean, the thing is that I'm on month 7 of this weaving. So, and admittedly, I teach 8 programs. I work at the shop like as the manager. I do all sorts of other jobs, but I've been working on this for 7 months at this point, I'm trying to finish it. So I'm working like 6 or 7 hours a day, just every day that I'm not doing any of my other jobs. So you really grow connected with it. So this piece really means a lot to me. Every weaving I've ever worked on means a lot to me. But this one is basically my child, because we're like reaching the point where, you're developing a child in your stomach or your womb or whatever. This has been with me almost that entire amount of time as I create it. So it's kind of like my baby.
Yeah.
So
your divorce baby.
My divorce baby, exactly.
No, it's beautiful. And tell me a little bit about your teaching.
So I teach currently 6 weaving programs, but I've done 8. I no longer teach at the McCurdy Community Center because that was a weekly class and my schedule just got too chaotic and I couldn't maintain that. And then
but you have there's a center that is like was it?
Oh yes. So that's actually my favorite program. The one that I recommend the most of all the programs, which all of them are wonderful programs. Like I teach at the Espanola Valley Fiber Arts Center, and then Fiber on 4th. I teach all over the country actually, but the one that I think is the most meaningful to me is the one at Centinela, and the reason for that is that Centinela Traditional Arts is my family's gallery that was started with my grandpa and my mom and my dad. And in the back room is the weaving room. And it's always been the weaving room where everybody weaves. And at this point, it was just kind of my dad weaving back there. So I was like, well, can we just start a classroom? Because teaching is actually my main income. And this way we get to use these old looms that are vintage looms. The oldest one is from the 60s. The newest one are ones that my dad built in the 90s, but they're generational. So they've been passed down. They've seen a lot of things. They've seen their fair share of drama before they made it back to us. And they're all really quirky. But you get to use our traditional tools. We take you around Sentinel Ranch. We take you to see the orchard and our herd of sheep. And so it's not just weaving. It's really supposed to be an experience of what it's like to be a Chimayo weaver. And so to me, it's incredibly meaningful. And it's the one where I had full creative freedom.
It's amazing. Yeah, you're really preserving this heritage and educating people and bringing them in. You don't have to be like, I could go and take classes, right? I don't have to be, part of the lineage.
Yeah. So the reason I do it, and by the way, not everybody agrees with me. There are some people that are very defensive of the culture, but so one of my degrees is in ethnology, and so I studied that culture is dying everywhere, and that's kind of why I'm there. My origin story is much more complicated, but essentially, there's nobody learning. I'm the only, in terms of professional Chimayo weavers, I'm the youngest and the only one of my age generation. So the next youngest one is my parents' age, aside from some of my students. So it's going to die. And really, I just don't want my students to go claim it's theirs and try and sell it and take jobs away from the people whose heritage it is. However, people can truly only understand it if they've tried it themselves. And in this way, they get educated in what we truly are and what we truly mean and what we're truly doing. And they can take that and they can understand and they can spread the knowledge and talk to people about it, which is the goal, is education. Because I said it's not really written down. We're confused for Navajo a lot, and that's just because people don't know who we are. We're such a small demographic. So we're just hidden and tucked away, and the more people know, then the more people know and the less likely it is to die.
Yeah. And you mentioned sheep. Do the sheep you have, is that where the wool comes from that you use to weave?
So actually, we don't do very many weavings with our family sheep. And the reason is that we have to somehow keep them affordable for the general public, and the amount it costs to raise the sheep, shear the sheep, do the spinning, and then dye it, that's so expensive that it's not everybody could afford that. And then also there's so much that comes in and out of our shop, and we're supporting so many weavers that there's just no way that it's sustainable to have it all from our flock. So we actually mostly get them from wool mills. And we recently changed. It used to be Clasgans, but they just closed, and now we're using Crescent, which is new and kind of a significant change in the industry and a significant way to see how times are changing, actually. If you want to know more about that, you can ask, or people can come and talk to me.
But you do use the wool sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my piece Halazia, that one is made with my family sheep. I also wove this piece called Maniac, which is one of my award-winning pieces that was all churro sheep. And my mom is the one that uses it the most, though, because she's the one who loves spinning. I think it's mid. Yeah. I don't really like doing it because I get tired and I get whiny, but sometimes I'll weave with her. But she she spins every single night. And while my dad and her are watching movies, so a whole bunch of her pieces are hand spun.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their, it's relaxing for her, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for you.
No, for me, I'm just there touching sheep and smelling sheep and being like, but what if I was not doing this?
Yeah.
Like, hypothetically, there are other things I could be doing with my time right now other than preparing myself for a shower for the second time today.
There you go. So let me ask you, because I just went to an incredible dance performance that was here at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. Two choreographers, Francisco Guella and Usha Marie Sorzano, who created a full-length dance performance, choreographed it based on your work. So what was it like? I know that they came and interviewed you, and then you were there. And so, talk about that dance performance.
So that was probably the most interesting thing that has ever happened to me in my life because they were like, we would like to make a dance about your heritage focused on you through your expression and inspired by you. And my coworker actually drew my face, and I'm going to, I was gonna get it tattooed on my body. It's not the weirdest tattoo I have, but I think it's so funny. And so it was a really weird experience from the get-go. It was interesting going to it. So the whole process was kind of hard to believe, and it was like, well, how do you even make this into a dance? Like, what does my work, what does my heritage, what do I look like as a dance? And I went to it, and it was amazing. That was like the coolest thing that has ever happened. It took some getting used to listening to my own voice, because I'm gonna be real with you, that's just a weird experience. But they made me sound so interesting, and I was like, is that what I sound like? And I kind of went home to my friends, and I was like, am I interesting? And they were like, well, we've been telling you that for years. And I'm just kind of pondering it for the first time. But they really captured it. And they, the dancing, they captured the movement of the loom. You could see what they were portraying. And it was awesome. And they included K-pop, which was just actually the best thing to ever happen to me in my life. Yeah, and my mom actually said that I was starting a cult because so many people are listening to K-pop because of me, and so that was just a fun fact about that whole thing.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, because they had interviewed you, and then like as the dancers are doing their thing, they have the audio that they've taken snippets of and incorporated with music, and it's just it's pretty cool, pretty powerful. And you're talking about kind of cultural survival and things like that. And then also humor is there. And I think the dancers, it's kind of like, modern dance and ballet, but then with, K-pop and stuff that they incorporated. It was very, very cool. And then they had a part where they actually had like these big canvas pieces or something that they were moving, and it looks like a loom.
Yes, that was how they captured the loom, and you could very obviously see it, and I found that fascinating. Like, they actually managed to capture these elements of what we do, and you never really think about this art form, the art form you do, translating into another art form, but they did it, and I was so impressed. That was amazing.
and when I talked to the choreographers, they said that when they were interviewing you, one thing that impressed them, and that you just spontaneously mentioned choreography as like kind of the way that you think about your work sometimes, because you're improvising a lot. So talk about that.
Okay, so I do mostly improv, but it kind of is like rhythmic dance moves. It is a dance, it is choreographed, but there's also a lot of creative freedom at the same time. And there's a lot of movement and flow. And there's actually so many, I don't know the exact context of that, but there's so many ways that it can relate to choreography. It's calculated, it's artistic, it's movement, there's color, there's expression, just like dance. And the other thing is that I captured the choreography, the movement, the dancing was in my pieces. So the Taste the Tempest, the entire flow, which is the one they put into the dance, that one has a whole bunch of choreography. So the flow of it actually has to do with how fast they're dancing and the chaos of the music video. So those are two ways that I could have 100% talked about it, but my memory is terrible because I thought I was too cool for a helmet in college.
What's that?
Oh, I thought it was too cool for a helmet in college, so I hit my head real hard and my memory got bad.
Oh, well, it seems like it's pretty good, I mean, my memory, I think, is naturally bad, so.
Well, we just have something in common, I guess.
Look
at us becoming besties.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I don't know, like, what's next for you?
So currently, well, my dream is to get into fashion design, and I actually wore both of my pieces to the dance, and it's this dress is the first one that I did, but the one I'm most proud of was one I did from scratch, and I had help because I don't know how to make a pattern, so an experienced pattern maker did more than hold my hand. I kind of told her what I wanted to do, and she walked me through how to do that, but it's this bolero jacket. And so my dream is to use Chimayo weavings to make more modern clothing as opposed to the Chimayo vest, to kind of make it more appealing to a wider audience and kind of move it into the modern age. And also I just want a K-pop idol or something I made, like if we're being real. So that's kind of where I'm going, but that's my side project. Really, my main project is to just preserve this art form that is my heart. And my soul, and just who I am, I guess you could say. And as I said, that's not all that I am, but it is one way that I identify that I don't want to lose and I don't think will ever change.
Well, we appreciate that you're doing it, and it sounds very exciting, and hope to see your weavings on the runway soon. And thank you again for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.